Okay, here we go with our channel's review of the first Wheel of Time official trailer. We've seen teasers, but this is the first full-length trailer that at least I've seen. Released on October 28th, 2021. I believe the show premieres in mid-November, so let's jump into it. The first scene is a reading of Moiraine's, a recording of Moiraine's Aes Sedai oath. It's almost exactly the same as the oath in the books. She says man, or she says person instead of man, and to make no weapon which one man can kill another, which is understandable. It's 2021. We're going to use gender inclusive language. And then the last line, she omits the part about using the one power in defense of her life, or the life of her warder as a last resort. Basically, the only oath that really matters in the books is the oath about not speaking a word that is untrue. The other two oaths don't really come in. I don't recall any time in the books anybody worrying about making weapons or using the power as a weapon. It does come into play later on. I mean, it gets mentioned that they do that because they don't want to have the War of the Power again. When they run into the Shanshin who use the one power as a weapon, they're definitely outmatched. And that's a very decorative oath rod with a little bit of a weave around it. The next scene, it looks like there's some Aes Sedai, and that should be with around a man in a cage. That should be Loghain. I think that I've read that Loghain is going to be featured more as a main character in the first series, which makes sense. In the original book, The Eye of the World, Rand sees him once in Camlin, and they talk about him. It's definitely a big deal that they've captured this false dragon, but we don't spend a ton of time with Loghain in the first book. Some sisters doing weaves. Looks like she's with a red sister. This guy tells her that Aes Sedai means servant of all, which I really like because that means they're going to get into the lore and the old tongue. I'm assuming that's Tom Marilyn talking to her. I haven't looked up all the actors, so I don't know faces and names. Great shot here of the Hall of the Tower. We've got all the Ajas represented, the gray Aja, the brown Aja, the white, the blue, the yellow, the green, and the red. Of course, there are some black sisters in that room. I think she's standing next to, she's got a red sister and a green sister. Moiraine's in the center. I would assume the red sister is going to be either Eladia or Lilandrin. And then wrapped up in the cloak there, that could be Galena Casban. Definitely going to be interesting to see if these are all named Aes Sedai or if they're just extras for this episode. This is, I'm assuming, Moiraine's raising ceremony in the Hall of the Tower, which is a very important scene. By the way, I want to talk a little bit. I love the look for Moiraine. She's a little taller, but Fairbanks, whatever this actress's name is, she's just gorgeous. She has the look of an Aes Sedai. The costume is correct. The high collar, the stone, which I believe is a angreal. I'm going to have to look that up. But yeah, great look. Then here we have the Amaryllis. So that's either going to be Tamra Ospenia, who was the blue Amaryllis seat during Moiraine's raising ceremony. It could be Siuan Sanchi, who's the current Amaryllis seat. I don't know if this actress has been cast as Siuan, but what's really interesting about Moiraine's raising ceremony is the keeper, Guitar Morosa, has the foretelling and gives a prophecy about Rand. This is during the Blood Snow. This is during the last Ale War, where the Ale are fighting right outside the walls of Tar Valon. This is when Rand is born. Rand is born during Moiraine's raising ceremony. If I remember, they're raising Aes Sedai quickly because they need more. So Rand's born. The Keeper has a foretelling about the birth of Rand, and during Moraine's raising ceremony. If I recall correctly, C1 is getting raised too, so that's probably not C1. And I don't think the hall is full. I only think a few people hear about that the dragon is reborn, and I think it's Tamara who puts Moraine and C1 on the trail of the dragon without telling anyone about his rebirth, about the foretelling. And then she's later killed by the Black Aja. So it's very interesting that this scene is going to be in the initial series. Based on the best-selling books by the late great Robert Jordan. Again, she's looking out, riding through the forest. There's Lan. Lan, I love that this is the only time we see Lan in the trailer. Very short, very quick scene with Lan. Where are we going, or where next? Very straight and to the point, and that's Lan. He's not wearing a Hadori, but he definitely looks like a Malkari. Hang on, I'm trying to pause it on this scene so I can see Lan. Yeah, he's wearing Hadori. He's not a Hadori because Hadori has a stone in the middle. Looks like he's got an ornate sword behind him, so that's probably the power-made sword of the Malkiri kings. Going to the two rivers, the old blood runs strong in those mountains. Great. Nineveh or Egwene, I can't remember which. There's Rand. There's Perrin. There's Matt. Unless I've got those backwards, I don't. I believe they cast Rand as the ginger. I'll have to figure that out. Great. We see a Midril. Oh my God, I lost it when I saw this Midril, because he doesn't have an O. He looks like Voldemort, but like this is an eyeless. This is what really put the hook in me when I read these books as a kid, was the description of the Midril and how terrifying, and how almost not necessarily original, but it was definitely not a ripoff. So many fantasy books just have orcs and zombies and stock fantasy characters. What's great about the Wheel of Time is that it has its own magic system, and it has its own monsters, that are created specific. And yes, they're based on monsters in other fantasy epics and legends. But the Midril, and I'm pronouncing the names as I've always remembered them from when I've read them, but I'm probably getting pronunciations wrong. I don't care. I'm calling them a Midril. It might be Murdral. I'll have to look it up. But really cool. That's how the book starts. They're riding through a city here. This could be Shadar Logoth. It's definitely a dark, ruined city. Shadar Logoth, I think is the name. Everything's. We definitely. This is the two rivers, or Emon's Field. The after winter night, the town's been burned down. There's a very grim feel to the trailer, which I think shows an understanding of the source material. That these are dark times. We're living through the Dark Ages, and there are windows of civilization, like at the White Tower or in Camlin. But for the most part, out here in the wilderness, these are small, simple hill folk, farmers. Certainly descended from kings. And this is what has happened to them is a very dark. Monsters have come out of the woods and burned their town to the ground in the middle of winter. It's a very dark and gritty story, especially at the beginning, and throughout. So I like the tone that they're setting in this trailer. Perrin. So Moraine says it's one, which is good. So Moraine says it's one of the five of you is going to save the world. They don't. I don't think they've mentioned the dragon yet. So hopefully, what they're going to do is, have it be kind of a mystery And obviously we know who it is, and we know they've all got different destinies, but that Rand is basically the main guy. I think that what they'll finally do is have all 5 of them be Taverin, which I've always felt was something that Jordan maybe overlooked or implied, is that not only are Rand, Perrin, and Matt Taverin, but I think Eleda and, or not Eleda, excuse me, Egwene and Nineveh are Taverin as well, and I think the one that fills it out is Elaine, the daughter heir, who we meet later. We've got 4 or 5 horses in that scene, so that tells me that Nineveh is not with them, because if in the books, Moraine takes off with Rand, Matt, and Egwene, Rand, Matt, Perrin, and Egwene, and Nineveh follows later, and that's how Rand is impressed that she was able to track them, or not Rand, Land, excuse me, and there's Land following them. So yeah, so Nineveh's not with them. I believe this is Matt. Rand and Perrin. Life is not going to be what you thought. Okay, that is definitely the inn burned down in Eamon's Field that they're standing in front of. Or it could just be some farmhouse that's been destroyed by the Trollocs. And I think we're about to see the Trollocs for the first time here. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a Trolloc. It's a goat man monster. Very scary. Probably doesn't speak other than Narg. Trollocs never speak because Narg's smart. There's a fight. That could, I think we see, oh yeah, I think we see Tam. Great shot of a Trolloc. That's got to be Narg if it's in the Althor farmstead. Yes, that's Tam Althor, because that's the actor who plays Bruce Bolton in Game of Thrones. So he's drawing the Heron Mark sword, just being a super badass fighting, and that's got to be Narg. And Rand's got the bow, of course. So somebody has read Eye of the World who made this book, which has made me so happy. It's one of the reasons I decided to make this video, because the trailer really looked like it's going to be a good, faithful adaptation of this series. So this is going to be Shiniar. I believe the capital of Shiniar is Faldara, which is where the climax of Wheel of Time or Eye of the World takes place. It's to the north, or it's to the north. It's in the Borderlands, near the Blight, where they go and find the Eye of the World at the end of the original book and encounter Agenar and Balathamel, I believe, are the 2 Forsaken. That's where they find out the Forsaken are loose. The Green Man shows up. He kills one. Rand channels the Eye of the World to kill another. And at this point, I think everybody knows that Rand is the dragon. So I'm assuming we're going to get here by the end of season 1. Walking in, yeah, and it's also going to be influenced by, Shiniar is definitely a samurai sort of, or Eastern, influenced fantasy setting. So we're going to see a lot of, and obviously with Land being cast as an Asian, which makes sense. This is where we're going to see Asian sort of inspiration for the architecture and the dress and the hairstyles and whatnot. So I really think this is going to be Shiniar, and that's going to be the king of Shiniar, who name escapes me, but one of the 5 great captains is here as well. Starts with an A. I can't remember. I'm going to have to look it up. Aljamar. So anyway, just lots of cool characters that we're going to get to meet later on in the series and in the books. Love seeing them on the big screen. All right, someone's getting burned to death. I'm assuming it's a dark friend, or the white cloaks, the children of light, might have captured a Aes Sedai, but they don't burn people to death in the Wheel of Time. At least the white cloaks don't. They hang witches, or what they call the Aes Sedai. So I don't recall of any witch Aes Sedai or anyone being burned at the stake. I could be wrong. Usually when you hear about the horrible stuff that happens to people, it's by the Trollocs or Dark Friends. The White Cloaks definitely just hang people they think are Dark Friends, including Aes Sedai. There's a very famous painting of them having hanged an Aes Sedai Amyrlin seat, but they had already killed her and they just hanged her after she was dead. So that could be an Aes. And then they show, I think this is going to be, this is obviously a White Cloak. Pedron Nile is the Lord Commander of the White Cloaks. But this could be, we meet Geoffrey Bornhold. Perrin meets the White Cloaks because he kills 2 White Cloaks in the first book. And that sort of set when he's finding out about the wolves, and that sort of, to save the lives of wolves. And that sort of sets him on the path. This could be Pedron Nile, who's the captain commander, but he's not really a bad guy. This guy, just kind of the way they framed him, that he's watching this woman be burned alive. I think that is the Dark Friend White Cloak, whose name escapes me. This could be Bors. This could be Jane Carradine. Oh, man. I'm sorry I'm drawing a blank on some of these names. It's been so long since I've read these books, and I've read them a lot, and I'll try and get better at names the more videos I do. Or this could be, starts with an R, the White Cloak that fights Galad way at the end of the series. There are definitely some evil White Cloaks. What I think they're going to handle, the way they handle their White Cloaks, is we're going to meet them initially and find out that they're bad guys. But the longer the series goes on, we find out that there are some good White Cloaks, like Galad, for example, and also Pedron Nile's just a soldier who thinks he's doing the right thing. Pedron Nile, I think he's another one of the great captains. So if this is Pedron Nile, we've got 2 great captains so far, and Matt. In this video, which, again, somebody has read, and then look at somebody's read these books. And then we've got sunbursts in the sort of the tapestry behind him. I love the design. I love the reflection. You can see the reflection in the cup of the woman being burned alive. So definitely a very sinister scene indeed. We got a land. Make mad. We've got Moraine crying. Lost too many people already. And I think that's Rand. Again, we've lost too many people already. I can't lose you, which really, I like that we're getting an emotional Rand very early on, because I think that's one of the strongest parts of these books is the emotion of these characters, just sort of the primal, teenaged angst on the world, but basically a bunch of angry, angsty demigods running around is what the Wheel of Time is all about. So that is definitely Egwene, and Perrin being attacked by White Cloaks was right out of the books. More fights with orcs. All right, so this looks like a waygate. I'm assuming, I believe they travel through a waygate. Usually waygates have leaves on them. That's how you access to them. So they're, because the Ogier tend to them. However, because the ways have gone dark, with the black wind. They're very dangerous to take. So I think we're seeing a waygate here. More Trollocs, the dark one. They're talking about the dark one. So, definitely the dark one at this point is going to be very much a off-screen antagonist. I haven't seen any Forsaken, but we really don't run into any Forsaken in the first book. So I think the main antagonists we're going to see are just going to be Trollocs and Myrtle. Some really cool fireballs cast by Moraine. Just some other really cool magic. We're in a snow. Oh, so this is the blood snow, right? So that's got to be an ale fighting maybe Lan or some other of the armies of Randland. I didn't see. I want to take a peek at that scene real quick because there was a quick. Logain in the cage. A blade with 3 stars on it. I'm going to have to look that crest up. I can go back through this and look at it again. Blood Snow. I have no idea what this is. A man in a cloak walking out of could be a lot of different scenes. Rand with a bow again. The Hall of the White Tower. That's Moraine's raising ceremony again. And that's our video. So very optimistic about what we've seen. A lot of stuff to digest. And we're going to stop it there, and we will see you next time.